11 kilowatt, 240 volt on-demand hot water heater, so I could use it to test out these units. And I've always been curious if these really inexpensive on-demand hot water heaters can actually deliver. So we'll kill two birds with one stone. Can we actually make a shower out of this thing, and can these units power it? This tiny little 11 kilowatt heater claims to be able to deliver a little over 2 gallons per minute with a 35-degree temperature rise. And it's only $200. Plus, if you use the discount code that they gave me for my viewers, you can get another 10% off of that. So let's take a quick look inside. This thing is super simple. It's really simple to wire. It just requires two 30-amp breakers, so 2 sets of 10-gauge wire for each channel and 1 ground. There's a circuit breaker and 2 resistors, one at the top and one at the bottom. Each one is on one of the breakers. So you can actually run the unit off of just one breaker. You'll just get half the power. There's a flow sensor and a thermocouple, so it knows the flow rate and the output temperature. Using that information, it throttles the amount of power going to each one of the resistors to get the temperature to whatever you set it at. So pretty simple. So I made a really simple test setup here. I have a shower connected directly to the output, and I just ran a hose for now to the input. The hose will deliver our cold water. I have a thermocouple taped to this brass fitting, and that'll give us a pretty good idea of the input temperature. And then I have another thermocouple that I'll put in the bucket to measure the temperature of the water in the bucket. And I'm just using this data logger to collect the information from the thermocouples. I've marked off gallons in the bucket so I can measure the flow rate of the water coming in. So we'll be able to determine the temperature rise, the flow rate it can deliver, and then we'll also track how much power we're pulling from these units. Now, 11 kilowatts is 1 kilowatt below the max for these two units. The two together should be able to deliver 12 kilowatts and a little headroom for surges. So I think it'll power it without a problem. But is it actually going to heat the water? Let's see. All right, you can see the light is off for grid input, so we're running only off a battery. Let's set our target temperature to 120 degrees. I'm going to start with this bucket till it starts warming up, and then we'll switch to the one that I'm measuring with. All right, let's see what happens. Ooh, it's already warm. That's pretty nice. Actually, I'd take a shower in that. What is that? What do we have coming out? 106 degrees. Let's switch buckets. Ooh, 113 degrees. Which matches the output. It says it's putting out 114 degrees. I'm measuring right at 113, and we're going to lose a little heat in the bucket. We're pulling 5,300 watts out of each inverter, pushing these things pretty hard, and yet I don't even hear the fans coming on yet. Now, we were getting 113, and it's come down a little, and that's because the water coming in is getting a little colder. I bet you it's actually colder than that. It says it can do a 35-degree temperature rise. It's actually a 42-degree temperature change. Woo! That is hot. I'm pretty impressed. Like, you could actually just hook up a hose and take a shower. This is pretty cool. Like, there's times in the day we have a lot of extra solar, and you could just take 11 kilowatts at a time and just take a shower. Running out of space in my bucket. Been running for several minutes now, and I can hear the fans starting to pick up on those guys. Okay, it's 106 degrees. So the water coming in is getting a little colder. It's down to 66 degrees. So the water coming out isn't quite as warm either, 106. But that, I mean, that's still plenty hot to take a shower. All right, after about 10 gallons of water, I think we stabilized 66 degrees in, 106 degrees out. With the shower off, I can hear the fans running. I mean, they're not super loud, but they're definitely running. We gave it a run for its money. Well, they're petering back off now. Okay, this thing's rated for a 35-degree temperature rise at just over 2 gallons per minute. I was running just under 2 gallons per minute, and I was getting over a 40-degree temperature rise. So that's pretty impressive. I'd say it pretty much meets what it says it can do. And it's actually sufficient. I mean, especially if you were running a hose into this and you coiled the hose outside in the sun before you ran into it, you could get some really hot water from that. Well, that's a pretty cool test. The units were able to power it no problem. The on-demand hot water heater was able to provide hot water. And that would be a really good way to have a dump load in the middle of the day when you have a lot of extra solar and you need to get rid of it because the batteries are full. You could run an on-demand hot water heater and take a shower. Get rid of some of that extra energy.